Keeping up with our motto, let learning be a joy and teaching a pleasure. Here we are with a remote teaching and learning process to bridge the gap. Happy learning, students.
Hello students. Today we are going to see the chapter from Science and Technology part 2. Chapter number 3, that is Life Processes in Living Organisms part 2. Students, we have already seen the first two parts of this topic, in which we have covered the topics like asexual reproduction in unicellular and multicellular organisms, sexual reproduction in plants, in which we have seen pollination, fertilization, germination. In today's part, we are going to see the topic like sexual reproduction in humans, in which we will be talking about the male reproductive system, female reproductive system, and finally the fertilization. Students, till now you have understood that the sexual reproduction is a reproduction where there is a union of male and female gametes. So in this part, we will discuss first the male gamete, followed by the female gamete and their union, that is fertilization. So start with the first part, that is male reproductive system. Observe the diagram in front of you for the male reproductive system. In this diagram, the parts which we will be labeling, the same parts we will be discussing it. So understand the diagram first. The first important part is called as testis. A pair of testes is located on both the two sides. Above testis, you can see epidermis. Then you can see the next part, that is called as vas deferens. It's present on the left hand side and the right hand side, the two tubes. Then is seminal vesicle, followed by the prostate glands, and the final part is called as penis. So these are the parts which we are going to see the functions of it. Starting with the first part, that is testis. Testis is a very important part. It is responsible to produce sperms. The sperms are called as the male gamete. So this is the place where the male gametes are formed. At the same time, testis also releases a hormone called as testosterone, which brings about the changes in the male child when the child reaches to puberty, that is when it is growing up. So this is the first important part, that is testis. Then epidermis. Functions of epidermis is to store the immature sperms. The sperms which are formed in the testis are stored in the epidermis. The next part is vas deferens. Vas deferens, it is responsible for the passage through which the sperms travels towards the urethra. That is the two tubes which is present on both the two sides of the penis and which is responsible for passing the sperms from the epidermis towards upward direction. The next part is called as seminal vesicle and prostate glands. Seminal vesicle and prostate glands produce an ejectory fluid which helps the sperm in the transport and provides nourishment. The last part is penis. The function of penis is to send the sperms or to deliver the sperm to the site of fertilization. So that is about your male reproductive system, starting from testis, the place where the sperms are formed. Then the sperms are stored into the epidermis. Then from epidermis, with the help of vas deferens, the sperms comes up. It gets mixed with the seminal vesicle and prostate glands. Then through the penis, it reaches to the site of fertilization. That is where the fertilization has to be carried out. So that is about the male reproductive system. In this, we have discussed about male gametes, that is the sperms. Let us understand the structure of the sperm, which is given in this part. Sperms, it consists of three parts. Observe the diagram: the head part, the middle part, and the tail part. Head part. The head part is responsible for carrying the genetic information. The genetic information contains DNA. So whatever genetic information we get it, that is with the help of this head part. The middle part, which carries mitochondria, that is the powerhouse of the cell. It provides energy. And the last is the tail part, which is like a flagellum, which helps the movement towards the female germ cell. So this is how the sperms or the male gametes is seen. So that is about the male reproductive system. The next part is about female reproductive system. The female reproductive system, we will see the diagram first. See the parts which has been labeled. The first part is called as vagina. The second part is called as uterus, the bag which is seen. Then the third part is called as oviduct, a tube which is present on both the two sides of the diagram. Then the last part is ovary, which is responsible for the formation of egg. So these are the four parts which we'll be discussing in this topic of female reproductive system. So starting with the first part, that is vagina. Vagina, it is a muscular tube that extends from the vaginal opening to the uterus. It provides the route for the menstrual blood to leave the body during menstruation. It is a pathway through which the sperms enters into the woman's body, and it's a pathway through which a baby comes out of the mother's womb during the birth of the child. So that is the main important functions of the vagina. So it is a muscular tube, then provides a route for the menstrual blood to flow out. It is a pathway through which the sperm enters in the woman's body. It is a pathway from which the baby comes out. Then above vagina, the next part was uterus. Uterus is a muscular organ. Due to the strong muscles and the ability to expand and contract, the uterus can accommodate a growing fetus and can push the baby during the labor. That means when a fertilization takes place, this fertilized egg or this fertilized embryo is growing into this uterus. So, as the child is growing up for those 9 months, according to its growth, the muscular organ expands or the muscles expands. And when the child is been taken out from the mother's womb, it again comes back to its normal position. So that is the flexibility a woman carries in terms of this muscular organ called as uterus. The third part is called as oviduct. Oviduct plays the same functions as vas deferens has done. It is connecting the uterus to the ovary. The bag which we have discussed earlier, that bag is connected with the help of oviduct to the ovary. And ovary does the same function as testis does. Yes, ovary, it releases the egg into the oviduct. So this is the ovary two oval shaped organs which lies on the upper right and left of the uterus, and they releases the egg into the oviduct. These eggs are called as female gametes. At the same time, this ovaries also secretes an hormone called as estrogen, and this estrogen brings about the changes in the girls during the puberty. So that is about your female reproductive system, consisting of four parts. The first part is called as a vagina, the place from where the menstrual blood comes out. It's a place from where the baby comes out. It is a place from where the sperms enter inside. Then the uterus, that is the place or the back where the child grows for around 9 months. Oviduct, it's the tube which connects uterus with the ovaries. And ovary is the place where the eggs are formed, which is called as female gamete. So that is about the female reproductive system. So you have discussed about the male reproductive system, that is in where the sperms are formed. In the female reproductive system, the eggs are formed. Now, these sperms and eggs combines together and comes to the next stage, that is called as fertilization, and hence after that the development and the birth of that baby. So in this fertilization, there is a formation of a zygote, the union of the sperm and the ovum. Ovum means the egg cells. So from the male, the sperm cells, and from the females, the ovums is combined, and that combination is called as fertilization. This fertilization results in the formation of a zygote. The zygote formed after fertilization goes mitotic division and gets converted into an embryo. So first fertilization, then formation of a zygote, then zygote gets converted into an embryo. Once the embryo reaches the uterus, it is implanted and further development occurs after the implantation. That is, the baby starts growing. An organ called as placenta is formed for supply of food materials during the growth in the uterus. That means as long as the baby is there inside the mother's womb, it is provided the nourishment by the mother with the help of this placenta. So placenta is an important part which provides nourishment to the baby as long as he is inside the mother's womb. The embryonic development is completed approximately within 9 months after fertilization. That is, during the union of male and the female gamete, fertilization has taken place, resulted in the formation of a zygote. Zygote has got converted into embryo, and this embryo is implanted into the uterus. This uterus is getting the nourishment from the placenta, and after this embryo's development is completed, the process of development and reproduction of a baby is done. So the birth of a new baby is formed. So that is what about sexual reproductions in humans is carried out. Thank you, dear students. In the next part, we will be seeing the remaining part of this topic. Till then, thank you.